There we go. So I want to talk about the bardo for a moment of ordinary life, and then the bardo of more absolute reality or states of mind. And so in every moment, as we were studying the bardos, gosh, it was more than a year ago now, we talked about the bardo of everyday life. And that's a real thing, of course. In every moment of our lives, we are in a moment, aren't we, of this and that, between the in-breath and the out-breath, maybe between sitting, standing, lying, and walking. Maybe we are in the bardo of transition within relationship, maybe transition between roles or jobs or homes, maybe the relationship between aging, illness, and death, as Jim is now in his last days. Maybe, and all of those object transitions are certainly one of the levels of the bardo of everyday life, but really, and particularly in the books that we were investigating in the Tibetan tradition, the bardo is often more subtle. The bardo is often understood to be intermediate states of mind. The mind that is grasping or clinging, the mind that is rejecting, refusing, the mind that is in denial, the mind that is hoping, wanting, the mind that is in ignorance or delusion, the mind that is caught. And we frequently experience these kinds of bardos, often perceived or perceptibly, maybe between each other, right? This particular opinion, belief, mind state, and that one. And then we create so falsely, so incorrectly. And I'll give you an example of that in a moment. The senses of the solidity of this perspective and that one, this person and that one, this reality and that one. We're saying it now, aren't we? Which is, I don't know how they've got that reality, because that's crazy. Well, it's not ever completely true, is it? Because no one solid reality. And then we go on to say in the Buddhist tradition specifically, don't we? No one self exists. And then we notice where our struggles are. We are floating, flying, floundering, dissolving, we could even say, continuously from one state to the next, in the intermediary, in the gap, someone might say, in the space between this and that, self and other, mind and mind, heart and that space, that gap is actually understood when we recognize it finally as a moment of luminosity. Let's just hang on to that, a moment, the space which holds all appearance, arising and passing, in its movement, in its stillness, a moment of luminosity. And so I'm going to give you a little example of some of the bardos I've been noticing, and then we'll practice noticing and recognizing the bardo where you are and what your mind is doing. So 2 examples of the bardo. The one example is Jim's continual evolution from being in this body to not being in this body. And so being in the body aches or the body hurts, or there's a lot of focused attention on the body. What's the body doing, right? And in the hospice, as Carrie could talk about this for days, as in palliative care, there is necessary, appropriate attention on the body. what is the state of the body and how might that really, the point of it is then, but how does it really then affect the quality of the mind? And Al and I are both here along with Carrie and Adrian and our family, and assisting Jim, and of course, all of us, each of us then really, right, in these transitions. And what I'm noticing that I find quite fascinating is that there's a continuously unfolding and often very different two qualities: approach to the dying, the body's dying, number one, and also an approach to what to, right? Then if we experience these transitions differently, then we respond or react to those transitions differently. And so no point to who's, because the who's we just said are also ever intermediate, dissolving and reappearing, right? No one person with one perspective or one mind wouldn't be true. It'd be completely false. So whenever you're saying things like, that person's just blah, we'll put whatever words you're going to put in there, you already know it's a delusion. I am this. Well, you already know it's a delusion because there is no I, there is no solid state. There is only the ever arising and passing brilliant, right, appearance of experience coming and going. And so what I'm finding so fascinating, Jim is in our foyer currently. And so what I'm noticing is how people respond or react to the presence of Jim in the foyer. When you walk right in our front door, which people have done both, I think, accidentally and maybe not so accidentally. Maybe the beauty of the teaching right there. The Dharma's always with us. There's a couple things that I notice happening. So if you bring in the mind of fear, what I notice is what? There's a quick whoops, turning away, even a leaning as people are walking, and like Jim's over here and people are kind of walking up the stairs. So there's that. There's the, that's aversion, possibly the mind of aversion as a possibility. There are people who walk in as if nothing's happening and no one's there. This is the mind of delusion or ignorance. Like there's nothing happening in the foyer. They walk right up the stairs with, hey, how are you doing? And how are things? That was someone in our family. In that moment, remember, no absolutes in this intermediate state. Others immediately attending. How are you? Is everything okay? Is there anything I can do? My sister, for example, always taking Jim's hand and holding him and holding his hand for a time and supporting the realities of the transition, both that he is still here and that he is changing and moving into somewhere else. So that's just one good example. Everyone in the Bardo, everyone in some form, amazing form of mind state, of heart state, of shock, of fear, of presence. We use these emotions, but they're of course completely inadequate to talk about not only the qualities of our emotion states, but the quality of mind that holds them. This is most essential. And this is, of course, what we train for. We train so that we can bring what? This open, spacious, easeful mind that can then be filled, the only one. That vessel is the only one that can then be filled with kindness, love, compassion, and care, because it's the only one big enough, right? Everything else too small. And then we dissolve into the contraction and are incomplete, essentially incomplete. So I'll talk for a second, just in terms of this Dharma. Al and I this morning as an example, and of course I always use Al and I as real life people and real life relationships in these constant confluences, right, of the bardos. And so I'm getting ready, and Al says, Di, can you help me? And I can feel the distress in his voice. So I run down, and Jim has somehow, um, uh, if you understand dying, very understandably, looks like he has tried to climb over the rail. Well, isn't that in some way a complete metaphor? Climbing over the rail from one mind to another, from one existence to another, right? Um, one moment to the next, and he's now caught, trapped, and clearly in distress. And so Al says, help him. And of course, right, we do all that we can do to establish the body in a way that is fairly challenging a little bit now. And Al's distressed, of course, by this, and doesn't. And I'm looking at Jim, and I'm up by his shoulders, and I'm rubbing his shoulder. And Al says, we've got to get him some medicine. Now, I can't say if that's right or wrong. I have no idea about this. And by the way, I do not believe in any way that medicating someone who is dying, who is uncomfortable or in pain, or chooses it, or is wrong in any way. So I do not wish to establish some perspective on this. It would be wrong to do so. And who could say when it's right, right? You just have to be present, and your training allows for that. And I said, Al, could we wait just a moment and just be here together? Could we wait just a moment? Doesn't mean medication should or shouldn't. Could we wait just a moment? And I'm rubbing Jim's shoulders, and we've already positioned him, and I see I'm asking him, is this what's needed? If your body is uncomfortable, if the mind is in distress, if the heart is breaking, right? We have something to help. We're here to help you. And he does nothing. And so we hold for another moment, just holding him, resting, letting the dissolving happen, right? Can we be there truly? And he starts to snore. Now that does not mean in the very next moment that we won't be in another place, right? So again, we don't use this as some sweeping reality for, oh, so we never give medication, we always give medication. It would be completely wrong with me. But at least in this moment, just the holding, just the presence, just the being there completely attentive, caring is enough, is enough. And that's how you then can make skillful decisions, of course, about the next, okay? But we've got to show up for the one we're in. We're going to practice that luminous awareness. In the Tibetan tradition in particular, they say before insight, before wisdom, before compassion, there has to simply be that natural presence. You just got to show up and take a breath in the moment you're actually in. And if you can do that, you are always then in that luminous awareness, capable of then deciding whatever it is that you can, whatever is most in care, most in regard, most in sync, most in alignment with these realities. So I think we'll practice that today. It's actually where the beginning is, and also how challenging. Can we rest in the groundless ground? Can we rest in the groundless ground of the present moment, where we arrive with knowing nothing, and we stay present, open, spacious, knowing nothing, and we let go of that completely, don't we? It's completely that one transition, so that we can, as well arrive to the next as well. So we're going to practice that luminous awareness presence. And thank you all so much. I have been so touched by the willingness of others to be here. For us, a meal, a card, a flower. By the way, they are beautiful and not required. So the other thing that I also know, and I want you to be clear about this, is that I know already, I am absolutely certain that each of you has thought of me, has thought of Al, and has thought of Jim this week. I absolutely 100% know that, can feel that, and am grateful beyond measure for that. So in no way believe, if I didn't something, it doesn't matter. It's just would be such a sadness for me that you don't know that your very calling us to mind is both felt and matters. Okay, so let's practice together. I will be ending after the practice. Today we'll be practicing till about 8:30. I will be in the bardo between meditation and post-meditation, opportunity to bring all that Dharma, all that love and all that wisdom to my family today. So thank you for that. And so we sit. And rather than point the mind in any direction, this would be an error from this luminous natural awareness and presence. You're just opening into the space around you, within you, between, in the gap, the intermediaries, between the in and the out breath, between one sound and another, between the rising breath and the thought of the breath. Can we feel the feet on the floor and notice the infinite sensations, each of them between this and that, absolute bodhicitta between one sound and another. So I will begin by ringing the bell, looking for the gap before, during, after. May we dedicate this practice today and all practice throughout all time to the end of suffering. May we do so for all beings, particularly today, those being born, those in the bardo of life, and those dying. We offer this till all are awakened. The space between the strike, the sound. Remember this, these are the teachings of liberation through hearing. And we rest the body, find a way to support the body in a way that invites attention, alertness. Remember not to solidify the objects, whatever they are, the breath, the sounds, or the sensations, because then you will miss all of this gap, all of the space, all of the um, ephemeral, ethereal, particled aggregate quality of everything. And so my voice right there, the space between the upper and the lower range in the word, the space between the vowels and the consonants, the space between the tick and the tuck, space between the filling and the emptying. I have been inviting Jim to rest at the end of the hour. Find the gap. Rest in the bardo of the present moment. Cradled in the open, infinite, luminous space of mind, held but boundless. And it's very instructive, I find, to notice where I grab on, where I make solid or permanent, and to see if I can experience all objects as the wave of an ocean. In its appearance and its arising, in its zenith, in its cresting and fading and falling back, back into the gap. Where is the bardo? The bardo is everything. And then what's the practice? Simple, easy. We simply rest in that gap. Nothing fixed, nothing permanent. Restful. There is the movement of all things within that luminous event, which itself is completely still. And so, where then do you hold? Where do you grab or cling or put that little finger on the handle? Just one little touch. Give me something, right? We often use the body. We often use beyond the body the identity. I am here. I am the one who feels the feet and the seat and the hand and the breath. It's not true. It is a wave. Vast luminosity. Ocean-like quality of awareness. Feeling the undulation of life. And also an ever moving reality. And hold space before its appearance. We tend to create handles out of our thinking. Our thinker, our body, our breather. And it often is not until the time of death that we realize the fall of this. When the body fades and the breath grows shallow. And it's no sound. We do not deny the arising object, the contraction of the body, the grip of the mind on the thought, the opinion of the eyes, the preference, no fight. But we do not make them me. Simply a cresting way of experience. And in the knowing, luminous, can you find your way to the space, to the gap? As all objects simply rise and pass. The bardo is the bridge. Luminous presence is the holding space. Let me take a moment and just open here. And then we simply shine bright like a diamond. Radiating that natural luminosity. If we could not live it, we can die into it. As we let go. The obscurations, the blocks, the obstacles, that radiance are in the grasping. In the rejecting. In the ignoring. Only suffering. So in the Bardo training, we begin to dissolve the body. To see that the luminosity itself was never dependent upon us. A little like maybe the music playing on the radio is not actually dependent in any way on the radio itself. And luminosity, music of the luminosity is it is not dependent on those phenomena, those objects, not sensations, not feelings, not opinion. And in fact, you may begin to notice that you are only hindered, you are only cramped, claustrophobic, squeezed in, gripped by those very things. We don't have to reject them, neither do we cling. We don't have to ignore them, go into denial. We simply allow the wave right there as we hold the grounds. This practice is often done with eyes open, and so that we do not also learn how to cling or grab or solidify the objects in space, that we don't go, oh, there's my computer and my bell and my striker and my phone. We immediately can fall into delusion with the eye door. And so we can leave the eyes open, recognizing everything in this way, even when by appearance. Sounds you like or sounds you don't like, each held completely, beginning, middle, and end, and all the space and all between, within, and If we can engage with all objects as the brilliant firework of the luminous mind, we will suffer less. Then we do not mistake the enemy for the other, but rather simply a quality of mind. And this looks so real. What believed thoughts are you holding, obscuring your luminosity? And as we let go of those old handles, those old identities, those old objects as being who we really are, we grow bigger. More light, more room, more space, more luminous. And then the monster comes, bulging eyes and fangs, and, right? The concepts of Mahakala, for example, that quality of mind which we fear, in fact, only friend, only an image. We can hold this too. The luminosity is brighter, bigger. Mahakala dissolves the delusion into that luminosity. And if you're using the gently softened eye, see where the eye lands. and what it solidifies. It's a lovely practice. Can you see the wave, the arising and passing in everything? Intermediary gap between this and that. You will lose all of your money, your power, your fame, your success, maybe even your memory. Your appearance will go away, loved ones will die, your own body will fall apart. Anything that seems permanent is absolutely impermanent and will be shattered. The experience will gradually, or not so gradually, take away all that it can take away. To wake up means to face this reality with open eyes and not to turn away. Right now, we are on holy ground. For what is going to be lost may not yet be lost and will be lost for certain. Realizing this is the key to unconditioned, everlasting, all-abiding happiness and love. So then to what do we rest this luminous light? May the heart mind grow as big as this open, vast, and luminous space. May we let the reality, the knowing, become on the corridor, the doorway we open back to that luminosity. The moment you recognize, you once again are free. May we hold space and invite that openness by our own being for all those just like us who cling and grip and grab and push. So maybe using the idea of that luminous open space and the bardo space between the objects of mind to see how we can then recognize and let go rather than clinging to ideas, beliefs, politics, thising or thating, which of course we see only causes our suffering and our separation from each other. I'll check in just to see if there are any thoughts or comments about this practice, the continuous practice, of course, finding our way back to opening into our luminosity in each moment of living, in each moment of dying, in each moment between and before and after. This is where the practice is. Look here, let's see, chat, looks like we're doing pretty well that way. I hope that you each have a day of practicing, a moment of practice, and then that being, right, that is its result of just being open and spacious and present to see what's really here. And then, of course, the whole rest of the practice is simply to open again and more. And again. I'll be practicing that today as well. And thank you all so much for being here. We have practice as best I know it now on Tuesday morning and on Thursday with Greg. And next Saturday, we will be doing garden meditation here at 7:30 in the garden. And I will be sending out today the swirls of sound. We'll also be doing, not here at 7:30, but we'll be doing a program and I'll send it out today. Thank you so much again to Swirls of Sound and Andy and Pablo for being here with us last week. So this is I'll hold that up. I'll be sending that to you. And that will be at, it looks like the Soul of Yoga at 7 p.m., 7 to 8:30 p.m. next Saturday. And I'm guessing it is right at the Soul. That's where it looks like. So you'll get that little reminder today. Hope you can make it if you weren't able to make it to the garden. Be my hope to be able to do one more sound meditation. We can talk Pablo and Andy and Bob into that before it gets too cold. That would be amazing. Maybe at retreat. That would be pretty radical. All right, everyone. Thank you, everyone. Wonderful to see you all. I'm going to go get ready to jam my 9 family members into a van for Coronado, where I am sure there will be plenty of space. And Bardo, I'll be looking for a lot of that in this day. All right, everyone, be well. Love to you all.
Love you, Di.
Be safe, free, and happy. Thank you. Goodbye, everyone. Thank you. See you soon.
Sweetie.
Thank you.
Thanks, Di.
You are so welcome. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Diana. Much love to you all and a great big hug to Jim.
Thank you. Thank you. He said the other day to me, I have so many friends. And I thought, wow, if those are his last words, that's not too bad.
That is beautiful. And yeah, like you said, we're all holding space for you guys. So,
I feel that, and Jim does as well.
right.
Jim does as well. That's where I think he got all those friends. I think he got them from
Like a
here.
tremendous heart, that's for sure.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you, Diana.
You're welcome. Thank you. All right, everyone. Blessings. Off I go into the next wave. Be well.